Marcus Thompson stood barely 5 feet 6 inches tall, with thick glasses that made his eyes look enormous, and a nervous laugh that escaped whenever he felt uncomfortable. At 22 years old, he had never fired a real gun, never been in a fight, and spent most of his free time reading books about military history in his small apartment. His co-workers at the accounting firm where he worked part-time called him Mouse, because of how quietly he moved through the office and how he seemed to disappear into the background during meetings. When Marcus announced to his family that he was enlisting in the army, the dinner table fell silent. His father, a retired construction worker with hands like sledgehammers, set down his fork and stared at his skinny son. His mother's eyes filled with tears, not from pride, but from worry about what would happen to her gentle boy in the harsh world of military training. His older brother Jake, a football coach who had always been the family's athletic star, actually laughed out loud. "Come on, Marcus," Jake said, shaking his head. "You get winded walking up 2 flights of stairs. What are you going to do in the army? File their taxes?" Marcus pushed his glasses up his nose, a habit he had developed since childhood, and quietly continued eating. He had made his decision months ago, after reading about a World War II sniper who had started as an unlikely soldier. Something deep inside him knew he had to try, even if everyone else thought it was impossible. The recruiter at the Army office had been professional but clearly skeptical. Staff Sergeant Rodriguez looked Marcus up and down, noting the soft hands, the pale complexion, and the way the young man squinted even with his glasses on. During the initial interview, Marcus could barely do 10 push-ups, and his mile run time was embarrassingly slow. But there was something in Marcus's eyes, a quiet determination that Rodriguez had learned to recognize in his 15 years of recruiting. "Son," Rodriguez said after reviewing Marcus's test scores, "your academics are outstanding, and your mechanical aptitude scores are through the roof. But basic training is going to be rough, real rough. You sure about this?" Marcus nodded without hesitation. He had spent years feeling invisible, overlooked, and dismissed. The military represented a chance to prove that there was more to him than what people saw on the surface. He signed the papers that same day, despite his shaking hands. The weeks leading up to his departure were filled with doubt from everyone around him. His co-workers at the accounting firm threw him a going-away party that felt more like a wake. His boss, Mr. Henderson, pulled him aside and offered to hold his position open, clearly expecting Marcus to wash out within weeks. Even his girlfriend Sarah, who had been supportive initially, grew distant as the departure date approached. "I just don't understand why you're doing this," Sarah said during their last dinner together. "You have a good job, a stable life here. Why throw it all away for something you're not suited for?" Marcus stirred his coffee slowly, choosing his words carefully. "Maybe I'm not suited for the life everyone expects me to live," he said quietly. "Maybe there's something in me that needs to be tested." Sarah reached across the table and touched his hand. "But what if you get hurt? What if they're mean to you? You're not like those other guys who joined the military." That night, Marcus lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, thinking about Sarah's words. She was right. He wasn't like the typical military recruit. He had never played contact sports, never gotten into bar fights, never felt the need to prove his toughness to anyone. But perhaps that was exactly why he needed to do this. His whole life, he had been underestimated, overlooked, and dismissed as harmless. Deep down, he wondered if there might be strength in him that no one had ever bothered to look for. The morning of his departure, Marcus's family drove him to the bus station. The silence in the car was heavy with unspoken fears and doubts. His mother packed him a lunch like he was going to summer camp, complete with his favorite cookies. His father shook his hand firmly but couldn't quite meet his eyes. Jake, surprisingly, was the one who seemed most emotional. "Look, little brother," Jake said as they stood by the bus. "I know I've been hard on you. Maybe too hard, but if this is what you really want, then give it everything you've got. Don't let them break you down." As the bus pulled away from the station, Marcus pressed his face to the window and watched his family grow smaller in the distance. For the first time since making his decision, he felt truly alone and frightened. The other recruits on the bus were already bonding, sharing stories of their athletic achievements and talking about how they couldn't wait to kick some ass in basic training. Marcus pulled out a small notebook and began writing down his thoughts, something he had done since he was a child. He wrote about his fears, his hopes, and his determination to surprise everyone who had ever dismissed him. As the miles rolled by, carrying him toward an uncertain future, Marcus Thompson had no idea that within months, his name would be spoken with respect and awe by soldiers who wouldn't have given him a second glance on this bus ride. The shy accountant with thick glasses was about to begin a transformation that would shock everyone who thought they knew him, including himself. Fort Benning, Georgia hit Marcus like a physical blow the moment he stepped off the bus. The humidity was crushing, the sun was merciless, and the drill sergeants were already screaming before the recruits had fully disembarked. Drill Sergeant Williams, a mountain of muscle with scars covering his forearms, took one look at Marcus and shook his head in disgust. "What the hell is this?" Williams bellowed, pointing at Marcus. "Did someone's little sister get lost and wander onto my bus? Son, you look like a strong wind would snap you in half." "Arded." The other recruits laughed nervously, grateful that the sergeant's attention was focused elsewhere. Marcus stood at attention, his heart pounding so hard he was sure everyone could hear it. His glasses had already fogged up from the humidity, and sweat was beginning to soak through his civilian clothes. The first weeks of basic training were a nightmare that exceeded Marcus's worst fears. During physical training, he finished dead last in every exercise. While other recruits cranked out 50 push-ups, Marcus struggled to complete 20. His mile run times were so slow that the drill sergeants made him run extra laps while the other soldiers ate breakfast. At night, he would lie in his narrow bunk, every muscle in his body screaming in pain, wondering if he had made the biggest mistake of his life. "Thompson," Drill Sergeant Williams would shout almost daily, "you're holding back the entire platoon. Maybe you should have joined the Girl Scouts instead." The other recruits, initially sympathetic, began to resent Marcus, as his poor performance affected the entire group's privileges. During cleaning duties, he would overhear conversations about how he didn't belong there and how he was going to get someone killed in combat. Some nights, Marcus would write letters home that he never sent, describing how difficult everything was and how maybe everyone had been right about him. But something unexpected began happening around the 4th week of training. While Marcus still struggled with the physical demands, he started excelling in areas that surprised everyone, including himself. During weapons maintenance classes, his steady hands and attention to detail made his rifle the cleanest in the platoon. His mechanical aptitude, which had always been strong, allowed him to understand weapon systems faster than recruits who were twice his size. The first hint of Marcus's hidden potential came during basic marksmanship training. Standing at the firing line with an M16 rifle, Marcus felt a strange calm wash over him. The chaos of the range, the shouting of instructors, the sound of other rifles firing, all seemed to fade into the background. When he looked through the rifle's sights, everything became crystal clear. His first shot hit dead center of the target. The second shot landed so close to the first that the holes nearly overlapped. By the end of the session, Marcus had achieved a perfect score, something that hadn't happened in Drill Sergeant Williams's 3 years at the range. Williams walked over to Marcus's target, examining the tight grouping of bullet holes with growing amazement. "Thompson," he said quietly, his usual harsh tone replaced by genuine curiosity. "You ever shoot before?" Marcus shook his head, still somewhat stunned by his own performance. "No, Drill Sergeant. Never fired a real gun in my life." Williams looked at Marcus with new eyes, seeing something he had missed before. "Well, I'll be damned," he muttered under his breath. Word of Marcus's shooting ability spread quickly through the training company. During the next marksmanship session, other drill sergeants came to watch the small recruit with thick glasses outshoot soldiers who had been hunting since childhood. Marcus's scores weren't just good, they were exceptional, at distances that challenged experienced marksmen. Marcus was placing shots with surgical precision. The transformation in how others treated Marcus was gradual but noticeable. Recruits who had dismissed him began asking for his help with weapon maintenance. During field exercises, squad leaders started positioning Marcus where his shooting skills would be most valuable. Even Drill Sergeant Williams, while still demanding, began pushing Marcus in different ways, focusing on developing his unique talents rather than just trying to make him into a typical soldier. However, Marcus's newfound respect came with its own challenges. Some recruits, jealous of the attention he was receiving, began making his life difficult in subtle ways. His equipment would go missing, his bunk would be sabotaged during inspections, and he would find himself excluded from informal groups during free time. The situation came to a head during a field exercise in the 7th week of training. Marcus's squad was tasked with defending a position against a simulated enemy attack. As the opposing force approached, Marcus took a position on elevated ground with a clear view of the battlefield. Using an M14 rifle equipped with a scope, he began engaging targets at ranges that impressed even the exercise observers. One by one, Marcus eliminated enemy soldiers with precise shots that would have been difficult for seasoned snipers. His squad leader, initially skeptical about relying on the quiet recruit, watched in amazement as Marcus single-handedly held off an entire assault team. By the end of the exercise, Marcus had achieved more kills than the rest of his squad combined. That evening, as the company gathered for after-action reviews, something unprecedented happened. Drill Sergeant Williams called Marcus to the front of the formation and announced that he had just witnessed some of the finest marksmanship he had seen in 20 years of military service. "Gentlemen," Williams said, his voice carrying across the silent formation, "some of you have been giving Thompson here a hard time because he doesn't look like your typical soldier. Well, let me tell you something. In combat, I'd rather have one soldier who can shoot like Thompson than 10 who just look tough." As Marcus walked back to his position in formation, he caught glimpses of respect, surprise, and even admiration in the faces of his fellow recruits. For the first time since arriving at Fort Benning, he felt like he truly belonged. The shy accountant who had been dismissed as a joke was beginning to reveal capabilities that would soon make him legendary among those who knew what real marksmanship looked like. That night, Marcus wrote his first letter home that he actually planned to send, telling his family that maybe, just maybe, he had found his calling after all. 3 months after basic training, Marcus found himself at Fort Moore, home to the Army's sniper school, still hardly believing the chain of events that had brought him there. The recommendation had come from an unexpected source. Colonel Harrison, a veteran sniper instructor who had observed Marcus during advanced marksmanship training. Harrison had seen thousands of soldiers attempt sniper training, and he recognized something special in the quiet recruit with thick glasses. "Thompson," Colonel Harrison had said after reviewing Marcus's shooting scores, "I'm recommending you for sniper training. It's the toughest school in the Army, with a 60% failure rate. Most candidates are seasoned soldiers with years of experience. You interested?" Marcus had accepted without hesitation, even though he knew he would be competing against soldiers who were bigger, stronger, and more experienced than him. The other candidates in his sniper class were intimidating specimens: Rangers, Special Forces veterans, and career infantrymen with multiple deployments under their belts. At the initial briefing, Marcus looked around the room and realized he was probably the least impressive soldier there by any traditional measure. The training began with 2 weeks of intensive academics, covering ballistics, weather effects, range estimation, and target identification. While his classmates struggled with the mathematical calculations required for long-range shooting, Marcus absorbed the information like a sponge. His accounting background had given him a strong foundation in mathematics, and his natural analytical mind grasped the complex formulas that determined bullet trajectory over vast distances. Sergeant First Class Mitchell, the lead instructor, was a legendary figure in the sniper community with over 100 confirmed kills from 3 combat deployments. He was known for his harsh training methods and his ability to break down soldiers who thought they were tougher than they actually were. During the first week, Mitchell seemed particularly focused on finding Marcus's breaking point. "Thompson," Mitchell would shout during morning physical training, "you're moving like my grandmother, and she's been dead for 10 years. How do you expect to carry 60 pounds of gear through enemy territory when you can barely handle your own body weight?" But Marcus had learned something important during basic training. He didn't need to be the strongest or the fastest to be effective. While other candidates relied on physical prowess, Marcus focused on precision, patience, and mental discipline. During fieldcraft training, where students learned to move unseen through various terrain, Marcus's small size became an advantage. He could squeeze into hiding spots that larger soldiers couldn't access, and his natural tendency toward careful, deliberate movement served him well in stalking exercises. The first major test came during a stalking exercise, where students had to approach within 200 yards of instructors without being detected. Then take a precision shot at a target. Many of the physically impressive candidates failed this exercise, discovered and eliminated before they could even take their shots. Marcus, however, seemed to disappear into the landscape itself. Using techniques he had studied obsessively from military manuals, Marcus moved like a ghost through the training area. His progress was measured in inches per minute, each movement calculated and deliberate. He used natural terrain features to mask his approach, remaining perfectly still for minutes at a time when instructors scanned the area with binoculars. After 4 hours of painstaking movement, he reached his firing position undetected. The shot was at 350 yards, with a crosswind that required significant adjustment. Marcus studied the conditions carefully, noting the movement of grass and leaves to gauge wind speed and direction. He made his calculations, adjusted his scope, and fired a single shot that struck the target dead center. The instructors spent 20 minutes trying to locate his position before Marcus finally revealed himself. Sergeant Mitchell walked over to Marcus's hide site, examining the expertly constructed position with growing respect. "Thompson," he said quietly, "that was textbook fieldcraft. Some of these rangers could learn a thing or two from you." As training progressed, Marcus continued to exceed expectations in ways that surprised even the instructors. During urban environment training, his ability to find and utilize unexpected firing positions gave him advantages over larger, stronger candidates. In one memorable exercise, Marcus climbed into the narrow space between two buildings and established a firing position that provided perfect coverage of the target area while remaining completely invisible to spotters. His shooting ability, already impressive, became truly extraordinary under the guidance of expert instructors. At ranges that challenged even experienced snipers, Marcus consistently placed shots within inches of his intended target. During one advanced marksmanship session, he achieved a perfect score at 800 yards in windy conditions that caused most other students to miss the target entirely. The psychological aspects of sniper training proved to be another area where Marcus excelled. While some candidates struggled with the mental demands of precision shooting under pressure, Marcus seemed to thrive in high-stress situations. His natural calm and analytical thinking allowed him to maintain focus when others became frustrated or overwhelmed. However, the most challenging aspect of training was yet to come. The final field exercise that would determine who graduated and who was sent back to regular infantry units. Students were required to complete a series of tasks over a 5-day period, including multiple stalking exercises, precision shots at various ranges, and target identification challenges. Only the top performers would earn the coveted sniper qualification. On the morning of the final exercise, Marcus felt more confident than he had at any point since joining the army. Months of intensive training had transformed him from a nervous, overlooked recruit into a skilled marksman with unshakable confidence in his abilities. As he prepared his equipment for the final test, Sergeant Mitchell approached him with an unusual expression on his scarred face. "Thompson," Mitchell said, "when you first showed up here, I thought Harrison had lost his mind recommending you for this course. You didn't look like sniper material. Hell, you didn't look like soldier material, but you've proven something important. The best snipers aren't always the ones who look the part. They're the ones who have the right combination of patience, precision, and mental toughness." Mitchell paused, looking at Marcus with something approaching admiration. "Don't let me down in this final exercise, son. Show these other candidates what real sniper work looks like." As Marcus headed out to begin the final phase of his training, he reflected on how far he had come from the nervous accountant who had once been dismissed as a joke. Soon, he would face the ultimate test of everything he had learned, and the results would determine whether he truly deserved to be called a sniper. The final exercise began before dawn on a humid Georgia morning that would test everything Marcus had learned over the past 6 months. 23 students had started sniper school. Only 15 remained for this ultimate challenge. The exercise simulated a real combat scenario where snipers had to operate independently behind enemy lines, complete multiple objectives, and survive for 5 days with minimal support. Marcus's first objective was to reach an observation post 3 miles away through heavily wooded terrain, crawling with instructors acting as enemy patrols. He had to move completely undetected while carrying a full combat load, including his rifle, ammunition, water, and survival gear. Many candidates had already been killed by roving instructors before reaching their first checkpoint. Using every skill he had learned, Marcus became one with the forest. His movement was so slow and deliberate that rabbits grazed near his position without alarm. When instructor patrols passed within feet of his hiding spots, he remained motionless for hours, controlling even his breathing to avoid detection. His small stature, once seen as a weakness, allowed him to disappear into terrain features that couldn't conceal larger soldiers. After 12 hours of painstaking movement, Marcus reached his objective, a carefully camouflaged observation post overlooking a valley where he would spend the next 2 days gathering intelligence and engaging selected targets. He established his position with meticulous attention to detail, creating firing lanes while maintaining complete concealment from multiple angles. The first shooting challenge came at sunrise on day 2. A target appeared at 600 yards, visible for only 30 seconds before disappearing. Marcus had to quickly estimate range, calculate wind effects, and take a precise shot, while an instructor timed his response. The bullet struck exactly where intended, earning Marcus his first perfect score of the exercise. Throughout the day, additional challenges tested every aspect of his training. Targets appeared at various ranges, and for different duration, some requiring multiple shots at moving objects. Marcus's performance was flawless, his shots so precise that instructors began gathering to witness what they were calling exceptional marksmanship. The psychological pressure intensified on day 3, when Marcus was required to remain in position while instructors conducted aggressive searches of the area, complete with simulated artillery strikes and enemy patrols passing directly through his sector. Less experienced candidates might have panicked or abandoned their positions, but Marcus demonstrated the mental toughness that separated true snipers from ordinary marksmen. His most challenging moment came during a night engagement, when he had to identify and engage a target at 800 yards in complete darkness, using only a night vision scope. The conditions were extremely difficult, with partial cloud cover affecting available starlight and a steady wind complicating the shot. Marcus spent 40 minutes studying the target area, calculating his shooting solution, and waiting for optimal conditions. When he finally squeezed the trigger, the shot was perfect. The target, barely visible even through advanced optics, was struck dead center. Sergeant Mitchell, observing from a concealed position, radioed to other instructors that he had just witnessed one of the finest pieces of night shooting in his 20-year career. Day 4 brought the ultimate challenge, a multiple target engagement scenario where Marcus had to engage 5 targets at ranges from 400 to 900 yards within a 15-minute window. Each target was visible for only brief periods, and the engagement sequence had to be planned carefully to avoid detection between shots. This exercise had eliminated more sniper candidates than any other single test. Marcus studied the target area through his scope, mentally rehearsing his shooting sequence and identifying the optimal order of engagement. He would start with the most distant target while conditions were optimal, then work his way closer while adjusting for changing wind conditions. Each shot had to be perfect. There would be no opportunity for corrections. The first target appeared at 900 yards. Marcus's shot found its mark instantly. The second target, at 750 yards, fell with equal precision. As he engaged the remaining targets, Marcus entered a state of complete focus that his instructors would later describe as supernatural. Every shot was exactly where it needed to be, each engagement executed with mechanical precision. When the exercise concluded, Marcus had achieved something unprecedented in the history of the sniper school. A perfect score on every aspect of the final examination. His shooting scores were the highest ever recorded. His fieldcraft was textbook perfect, and his operational planning demonstrated a level of tactical thinking that impressed even veteran instructors. At the graduation ceremony, Colonel Harrison addressed the successful candidates with obvious pride. When he called Marcus's name to receive his sniper qualification, the room erupted in applause from both instructors and fellow students. Sergeant Mitchell, known for his harsh demeanor, was seen wiping his eyes as Marcus stepped forward to receive his certificate. "Gentlemen," Colonel Harrison announced, "Specialist Thompson has achieved something remarkable. He has not only graduated from our program but has set new standards for marksmanship excellence. His performance during training has been nothing short of exceptional." After the ceremony, Marcus called his family to share the news. The same people who had once thought his military service was a joke now listened in amazement as he described his achievement. His father, his voice thick with emotion, told him how proud he was. His brother Jake admitted he had been wrong about Marcus's capabilities. Even Sarah, who had been skeptical about his military service, congratulated him with genuine admiration. As Marcus prepared for his first assignment with an elite sniper unit, he reflected on the incredible journey from overlooked accountant to highly trained military marksman. The transformation had been about more than just learning to shoot accurately. He had discovered reserves of mental toughness, patience, and determination that he never knew he possessed. Sergeant Mitchell approached Marcus as he packed his gear for departure to his new unit. "Thompson," he said, extending his hand, "you've taught all of us something important. We learned not to judge a soldier by appearance alone. You came here looking like you'd break in a strong wind, but you've proven you have the heart of a true warrior." Marcus shook his instructor's hand, thinking about all the people who had dismissed him as weak, unsuitable, or destined for failure. His journey from joke to elite sniper had proven that true strength often comes in unexpected packages, and that determination and skill matter more than size or appearance. As he departed for his first operational assignment, Marcus Thompson carried with him not just exceptional marksmanship skills, but the knowledge that he had found his true calling in the most unlikely place. The quiet accountant, who had once been invisible to everyone around him, was now heading toward a future where his unique talents would make the difference between life and death for soldiers who depended on his extraordinary abilities.